Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Operation Heal 100 Hearts channel where we focus on healing, humor, and hot topics. Today, because we're in our Dear Deidre bag, we're going to focus on healing as usual. But before we move any further, if you are new to my channel, please make sure you subscribe. And also, right now, before you go any further, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Hit the thumbs up on this video. Give me your like. After you subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up, stick around and listen to my content because I would like to hear your feedback on the commentary I provide to this letter writer. So let's get started. Let's get started. Y'all know I'm an old head, so let me put my doggone glasses on so I can read this Dear Deidre letter. Okay, we have quite a few. We have quite a few. Dear Deidre, I know your famous line is, you don't really like giving feedback to parents, but I think you can relate to this situation, so I need your help. My 15-year-old came out as a lesbian officially last year. I knew since she was 10 years old. It was her dad who was in denial. I'm not bothered by who my daughter is sexually attracted to. That's her business. But since the start of the year, I've noticed some changes in her physical appearance. First, she cut off all of her beautiful, long, thick hair that I took my time maintaining since she was born to a low haircut. It looks as though she has some facial hair coming in. And then to top it off, the other day, I think she had a strap on under her jeans. I love my baby, I do, and her wanting a same-sex romantic partner really is not an issue for me. But she can still be a lesbian and look like the little girl I gave birth to. I did not have a son, and I really don't want my daughter to look like one. I don't want to ruin the relationship between me and my daughter, but I also want to tell her how I feel. Does it matter how I feel? I know you have a sister that has transitioned as well, so I figure you or even your mom can lend me some advice. I would appreciate it. Signed, Troubled by the Transformation. All right, once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you are new here, please subscribe to my channel. And also, after you hit that subscribe button, please make sure you go and like the video by hitting that thumbs up. And let's get into some feedback for my homegirl, TT. That's what we're going to call her. Troubled by the Transformation is what she said. Let's take a sip. Let me start off by saying, TT, I truly appreciate that you watch my Dear Deidre videos because you did say in the beginning, which I say very often, I'm not really too fond of giving parents feedback in regards to their children because I know it can be a sensitive topic for folks. And the next thing you know, we have an issue because I'm getting the feedback of you're not a mom and so on and so on and so on and so forth. I do understand why you would write this type of letter to me because, as you said, I do have a younger sibling who is also a lesbian. Shout out my sister Lila, my Live at Five partner. Um, Let me first say this. In the end of your letter, you used the term transitioned, right? If I'm thinking correctly, I know that transitioned can mean that, maybe the young person or maybe the person has had like a sex change or something of that nature. My sister has never had a sex change per se, right? So she is a woman with all her woman parts, but and to be honest, let me not even say she identifies as a male because she doesn't tell us that, right? So I can understand why I would be familiar with this, but I'm kind of sort of not familiar in the sense that there hasn't been any transitioning. But it doesn't sound like there's been any transitioning on your part either, other than the way the young lady is dressing and the way she's wearing her hair and so on and so forth, right? Okay. Well, first off, you didn't say if if your daughter has asked you to if she wants to be identified as a boy, okay? Because in my situation with my sister, she did not say to us, I would like for you guys to refer to me as male. And of course we see that she does wear male clothing. She has her hair is done like a male. She does have facial hair, but she has not officially shared with us that she would like to be identified as a boy. So for us, I think sometimes we just go with whatever she goes with because we feel like that's what makes her comfortable. So if she's telling the story and she refers to herself as a guy, if we're participating in a conversation, then we'll refer to her in that sense the same way. But just to say it rolls off of our tongue that she's a man, no, not per se. I really personally still view my sister as very girly. I just feel like your daughter, she's interested in the same sex. Um What I will say is congratulations to your daughter for feeling comfortable and open to come out and share with her parents, because that's a very young age. And I know that for some young people working in the transfer high school around young people, it can be very hard to share, what your sexuality is if it isn't what people consider as the proper way to be, right? So, sometimes I know that young people struggle through that. They're like, listen, I don't want to share with my mom. I don't want to share with my dad. I don't know how comfortable they'll be, but it seems like you guys have an excellent relationship because she came and she shared with the both of you. So that's beautiful. Congratulations on having a good relationship with your young person and providing her the safe space to be able to say, hey, mom, hey, dad, this is what I'm into, right? Um, the other thing I wanted to address is you said doesn't matter how you feel. That's a loaded question. That's a loaded question because one, I don't want to say it doesn't matter how you feel in the sense that that's your baby. So I'm pretty sure she would consider your feelings in any situation that she's growing through in her life. So I don't want to say it doesn't matter how you feel. What I probably would share with you is it might not, how you feel may not be the determining factor, if that makes sense, right? So let's just say your feelings is, I don't really want my daughter to be dressed like a male, and her feeling is, but that's the way I'm dressing anyway. I don't want you to feel like just because you share with her that that's not what you want, that what you want is what's going to happen, if that makes sense, right? But again, to say that your feelings don't matter or she doesn't care how you feel, I highly doubt that. I highly, highly doubt that. I think that you guys are very, very close from what you share. So I highly doubt that she just doesn't care about your feelings. But I do think that her feelings might trump your own because this is her life. This is her situation. This is her reality. And in order for people to be happy, they have to live within them true selves. And if your young person is only living the way other folks deem fit, including self and dad, then that may not be what makes a young person happy. And at the end of the day, I can imagine that no matter what, you want your young person to be happy. And if being sexually attracted to the same sex and dressing like the opposite sex is what makes her happy, then I would have to ask, what's your issue regarding that? Right? So let me take a sip. Since you brought up my own personal situation, I'll just give you some feedback from the way we handled my sister. Like you, I was very familiar with my sister's situation. I watched my sister. I babysat her for years. I pretty much know her personality like the back of my hand. So knowing that she was a lesbian came really early for me. And as a matter of fact, I shared with my mom. That was some of my suspicions, right? And my mom at first said, oh, you think so? What's making you think that? And we kind of had some dialogue about it. I shared with her some of my sister's behaviors that had me feeling that way. And my sister said, okay, well, that's only assumption. My mom said, okay, well, that's only assumption at the moment. Let's just see if that becomes reality or not. And that's exactly what we did, right? So there were times afterwards where my brothers came to me where they caught on and said, wow, hey, you think so on and so forth? And I'm like, could be, what do you think? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so we all made the decision to let her decide if that was her reality. And if it was, also let her decide when she was going to share with us. So what happened was when my sister came forth with her reality, it was almost just like, okay, girl, but do you want chicken or fish for dinner? Like, it was no big deal. It was no whole big family meeting. It wasn't no whole hoopla surrounding how did you get like this or why are you this way? Because number one on the list, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how this happened. It doesn't matter why it happened. The only thing that matters is that whatever is happening, you're happy about. And that was always my mom's concern, and that was our concerns as a sibling. Are you happy? And at the end of the day, I can imagine as a parent, for any parent that I know, again, outside looking in, I'm not a mom, but for any parent that I know, they mostly talk about how paramount it is for them to know that their children are happy, which is why you see parents such as yourself going above and beyond for your young person, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is you want your young person to be happy. And if you're going to go against or negate or discard something that makes your young person happy, happy, then you have to be prepared for what the blowback can be behind that. You know? But before we even get to, you sharing that that's something that makes you unhappy, let's talk about why it makes you unhappy. Let's talk about what your mindset is surrounding your young person who you gave birth to now taking on the identity of the opposite sex. What bothers that about you? One of the things that I saw that you said in the letter was she cut off her long, beautiful hair that it took you her whole lifetime to grow, and then a lot of the things were more of the physical, right? So it seems like there may be an issue with the physical transition of the way she looks and the way she acts and her demeanor and so on and so forth, coming away from being the daughter that you gave birth to and now it being more male and masculine, which, of course, would make one say, I gave birth to a son. But that's not the case. That's not the case. That's not the case. What I do know about my sister, I can't speak for every lesbian on the planet, but I can speak for my sister. My sister still carries a lot of her feminine traits even when she's being masculine. Okay, so like case in point, my sister does have her hair a particular way. She does wear her jeans a certain way. She may even use, toys that are for men to utilize when they're, doing what they do, or that have male parts or so on and so forth. But when you're in conversation with my sister, you definitely can see her female traits within her. Right? And I imagine that you guys' comfort zone for your daughter is you. You and dad's comfort zone for your daughter is you. At heart, your daughter is a female. So I can imagine a lot of those female traits will show up in her as well, even when she's dressed like a boy, because in her core, that is who she's born, a female. So some of them traits, in my opinion, they don't disappear. It's just that the person can sometimes take on more masculine traits. That's okay. That doesn't change who the person is on the inside. And whether you're male or female, I don't think that mattered to you even when you were pregnant. It just mattered that it was your child and you wanted that young person to be happy. If that makes sense. Right? So had you been pregnant with a boy, would it have been a whole meltdown, or would it have been, I'm just happy I'm having a child that's going to be happy, healthy, and safe? Now, again, I don't want to act like I'm oblivious to the fact that all of these years you've been raising a daughter, right? So it can be a huge transition, as you said, having to shift from raising a girl to now responding to someone with more masculine traits. Again, these are just more masculine traits. That's still your baby at heart, no matter what sex she decides to take on. So no matter if she's saying it more aggressively or more feminine, she's still your baby girl. So all of the things that she feels and thinks and says and does, they're still going to be the heart of your baby girl. Whatever that looks like on the outside is just what it looks like. Not everything looks the way we planned. Right, Mama Love? So another question that I have is, what's Dad's take on this? Because I saw you say in the letter that you had kind of known early on that this is what she might be attracted to. So what is Dad's take on it? Is Dad still in denial? What was Dad's response when she shared with the both of you? Did she share with the both of you, or did she just share with you and you went and share with him? Did you all sit down and have a conversation about it? What was the dialogue when it came down to having this conversation about, okay, this is what you're interested in and this is how we're going to move forward? Because another thing is, too, she's still very young. She's still very young. If I'm not mistaken, I think in the letter you said she was 15. She's still very, very young. So throughout this journey, she's probably still finding herself. So it's probably things that she doesn't know and she needs help navigating. She's lived as a girl all of these years of her life. So I'm pretty sure a lot of the ways she's going to navigate these situations moving forward is still going to be of a woman. And it's up to you as the elder woman and one of the most important women in her life to help her navigate that, no matter what that looks like to you. The transition isn't easy, I can imagine. The transition doesn't happen automatically, I can imagine. It sounds like things are happening gradually, right? She's trying to find her footing. She's trying to see, okay, is this what I'm into? Is this the way I want to look? Is this how I feel? How do I want to move forward with this whole thing? So I think that instead of focusing on, hey, why are you cutting off your hair and why are you wearing that in your jeans? And how about just focusing on the woman she is inside, the person she is inside, what she identifies with inside, right? So sometimes you can ask questions like, what is your feeling when you're dressed one way as opposed to when you're dressed another? What makes you more comfortable? Can you share with me why that makes you more comfortable? What do you want to be referred to as? What are some conversations that you want to have so you can know how to navigate this space? Do you guys need to see a therapist to kind of help you or come to terms with this is who she is and this is how we need to maneuver so she can feel comfortable and you guys can feel comfortable as well? But to only think about, hey, why are you wearing those jeans and why are you wearing a strap on and why are you cutting off your hair? That's pretty much the least of the things that she needs to learn how to navigate. She's a young girl, so she needs to be able to focus on what's happening inside. You know what I'm saying? She might not be sure. She may feel this way now and she may change. She may shift. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of factors to think about when this is the reality of your situation. And if she's sure about, I am into the same sex, that's one level. The next level is, what does that look like for you? Maybe she doesn't want to dress like a boy. Maybe she feels like that's how I'm supposed to dress since I'm interested in girls. Maybe she always wanted to dress like a boy because truly that's how she feels inside. Like she's more of the male persuasion. Either way, these are conversations to have with your young person, more about the internal feelings because the internal will reflect the external, right? And I think you'll be able to come to terms and accept who she is as a woman once you've addressed the internal and then work towards the external. Granted, I think that, you know, the comfort, the comfort of knowing who your baby is and now feeling like you don't know her at all might be what the issue is. I think it's more of an issue of, I know exactly who you are. I raised you for all these years. I know what you will and won't do. I know what you will and won't say. I know who you are as a person. I know what you like and dislike. And now you're being introduced to a totally different person. Well, I heard that's all the phases of parenting. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the other parents in the chat, I heard that's all the phases of parenting. I heard that you know your kid up until they're 10 and then they turn into a different person. I heard you know your kid and then they become a teenager. I heard you know your kid and then they enter high school and you don't know who the F this is. I heard you know your kid and then they become a young adult and get into a relationship and forget about all the morals and values that you taught them and who the fuck you are because they are so engulfed and in love with who they've run into. I heard that all the phases of parenting shift because you're constantly getting to know a new person and you're constantly becoming a new person trying to raise that young person. So this is no different from how you parented everything else. You know, you had to get to know a new person when she started school. You had to get to know a new person when she started making friends. And every time you have to do so, I can imagine that you learned how to navigate that space so well that made her feel a comfort to come and be like, yo, mom, let me let you know what's really going on with me. So what is the hesitancy with being able to navigate this space as well? You got this. You got this. You know what I think? I think you didn't anticipate this. That's what I think the issue is. I don't think the confidence is lacking because I don't think I can handle this. I think it's lacking because I didn't anticipate this, right? So I think that you knew that one day your daughter would grow up and go to school. You knew that one day she would make friends. You knew that one day she would get into a relationship. You knew that one day she would become a teenager. What you did not know is that she would introduce to you a different lifestyle than you anticipated for her. So it's more fear surrounding, I didn't prepare for this. Nobody prepares for parents in the way that they should. They think they do it to the kid drop, okay? I'm here to tell you I'm living proof. I could give you all the logical things I think you're supposed to do when you have a baby. I don't know what I'm supposed to do when I should out the baby, right? So it's okay to feel uncomfortable because you didn't anticipate this. That's one feeling. What's not okay is to try to force what you feel on the young person because it's not what you anticipated. That's your baby. I am people's baby, right? Now, in all fairness, the two men that raised me, They are no longer living, but I know I'm their baby from heaven, and I'm my mother's baby. I am my mother's baby. My mother is my safe space. That is where I go and I bear my soul, because that level of nurturing and comfort and non-judgment is so powerful and comforting to me that I don't have any issue with showing up there being my whole self, right? I don't know what I would do or how I would feel if I expressed a part of me to my mom and I had to feel like that part of me was not accepted. Now, granted, I'm not saying that my mom was always happy with the decisions that I made. I'm not saying that my mom didn't express, some concern for some of the things that I might have did or said at certain times in my life, 100%. But I never felt that they were things that weren't accepted. I felt that they were things that were frowned upon. I felt that they were things that she didn't like. I felt that they were things that she didn't agree with. But I never felt like I wasn't accepted. And I think if you show up denouncing, the new way she's deciding to show up appearance wise, I think that she'll not feel accepted by you. And as her mom, where else do I go if I don't even feel accepted with my mother? Also, how does that benefit you guys' relationship to know that a decision I made is not accepted by you? Right? And I think also educating yourself on why she made this decision. Why did you make this decision? Is this how you always felt? Do you feel peer pressure to dress this way? You know what I'm saying? Or is this something that, Mom, I've always wanted to dress like in this particular way, right? So I think that these things that you need to kind of have conversation with your baby with, like I said to you in the beginning, and I'll say it again, I won't necessarily say that how you feel doesn't matter. That's not fair for me to say. That's not fair for me to say. I don't have the right to say it. I'm not your baby, so I don't have the right to say what you feel does not matter. What I will say is this: the approach you take, the stands you take on this, the way you approach it, how you navigate it, all of those things are definitely going to matter. And they could affect your relationship with your daughter in a good way. They could affect your relationship with your baby in a bad way. That's totally up to you. What I will suggest is you do the self-work on you so you can know that when you approach it, it's not from a standpoint of your own personal feelings about it. It's not from a standpoint of ego, attitude, ignorance. It's more in a space that I'm a mom and I really, really, really want to be there and provide support for my baby. But I also want to let her know what I'm feeling and let her know those feelings don't come from a space with ill intent, right? Because it's one thing to say if there's a healthy fear concerning the way she may dress or the things she may do, that's one thing. But to say, I just don't want you dressing that way because I don't like the way it look, or because that's not how I thought you would look, or you don't look like my baby, or that is all vain things. That has nothing to do with who she is as a person, no matter how she looks. Right? So, Mama Love, I think this can be discussed in a healthy way. I think this can be discussed in a healthy way. I just think that you have to get out your own way. Right? I think you have to get out your own way because, once again, I think that you anticipated raising a certain type of child, and as things progressed in her upbringing, she shifted, from the direction you thought she should go in. That's okay. That's okay. It sounds like she only shifted in the physical. What about who you raised her to be as a person? Is that person still present in her? So case in point, if you raise your daughter to be kind, to be generous, to be compassionate, to be loving, to be smart, did all of those things disappear once she became a lesbian, or are they still present in your baby? Because if so, then what's the issue with her being a lesbian? That's just who she's sexually attracted to. And what's the issue? Let me rephrase that, because you didn't say you had an issue with her being a lesbian. What's the issue with the way she dresses? inside, she's who you raised her to be. What does that matter, the way that she looks? Right, Mom? So I think you have some self-evaluating to do. I think you have some self-work to do. I think you have some realistic conversations you need to have with yourself about your feelings towards her shift in her physical appearance. And if you're going to share your disdain for her choices, please, I beg of you, please be prepared for some feedback that may not be as kind as you would like it to be. Because again, this is her life, these are her choices, right? They're not yours, but you are important to her, and I'm pretty sure she would like to hear how you feel. All right. Okay. Let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pretty sure it's some folks in the chat who may have some young people who are transitioning through the LGBTQIA, so on and so forth space, and they may be more knowledgeable about this category than me. Please chime in the chat. I offer my sister Kalila to chime in. I offer my mom to chime in to give feedback on this letter, because I'm not an expert in this area. Number one, I have no children. So number two, I can only speak from being the sibling of a lesbian. I'm not the parent of one. That's two totally different spaces. Alrighty, so once again, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video. You should have heard all of my commentary, so you should be right now down in the chat dropping your feedback about what you feel about this letter and also what you feel about my commentary. If you're not a subscriber, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. And thank you for tuning in. Happy, what is today? Monday. Enjoy your day.